Not just lawmakers, but previous presidents say that they agree NATO members should pay more. No one's making any comments about the 4%, but the 2% agreement that NATO members had made a target to be reached by 2024 is something that previous presidents and all lawmakers agree on. However, we have seen a bit of an uproar here in Washington about the comments that the president has made, particularly the comments against Germany, as well as his attacks on NATO. And both houses of Congress, both the Senate and the House, and both parties, both bipartisan, both parties in them, voted overwhelmingly in favor of a motion to support NATO, just to show their support for NATO. Now, it doesn't really do anything. It's a non-binding comment, but it's just a signal of what they think about it. The House Speaker, Paul Ryan, who's basically the third most influential politician here in the United States, made comments to reporters in which he said he doesn't like to criticize the president, but he did say NATO is indispensable. It is as important as it has ever been. He also called on saying that it's the most important critical security link between the United States and Europe. Now, we also had comments from others, some scathing comments, one particularly from an ex-CIA director, John Brennan. Now, normally, members of the intelligence community don't really speak out against presidents or politicians. They're supposed to be apolitical. But John Brennan, since he's been out of office, has been very, very strongly opposing President Trump's comments. And in a tweet today, he actually asked NATO members to speak out against President Trump himself. Now, he said in his tweet, it is in the interest of America's security if NATO leaders push back against the reckless behavior of Donald Trump, who is dangerously naive and grossly ignorant of how the world works. History inevitably will regard Trump as one of the most disastrous figures of the 21st century. So very, very strong words, very unusually from a former CIA director. And we also heard comments from John Kerry, the former U.S. Secretary of State, and he served under President Obama, so it's no surprise that he's critical of this administration. But again, he used some very, very strong words, which were quite unprecedented and unusual. He said, for instance, the comments that President Trump made were strange and counterproductive. They were disgraceful and destructive. And he said what was on display in Brussels today was not the behavior of a strong, principled and wise leader. Enough. This is not good enough. Isn't good for the United States, and there are people across the aisle, as the Senate vote yesterday clearly showed, who know it and need to say it. In other words, he's asking Congress to speak up. And we also heard comments about from lawmakers, including Republican lawmakers, that they didn't agree with President Trump's comments on Germany. One in particular, Orrin Hatch, who came out and said he didn't agree with those comments. He also said about Angela Merkel that she was a world-class, wonderful leader with whom our country has great relations, and I want to keep it that way. So some unusual comments coming from people who normally don't say much about the president.